things I love most about the project, beyond the sort of the peace building and the community building, but the history, the Black history.
I always say the Black Legacy Project is the coolest Black history project I've ever worked on. It's been powerful for me to learn about Black history in Denver, and the history of like Black and white folks working together in solidarity. One of the histories that we're exploring here in Denver is Denver's 5 Points community, which is the heart and soul of Denver's Black community. It was considered the Harlem of the West because during the 1930s through the 60s, it was a hub for jazz and blues artists to perform. 5 Points became this beautiful musical hub where Black and white folks alike would come and listen to this meaningful music. Aside from the music, 5 Points was also just a hub for Black life and wealth, and people invested a lot of their wisdom, their social capital, their passion into the community. It became a hub, and a hub for activism in the face of the anti-Black racism that Black folks were victim to at the turn of the 20th century.
As a white person in this country, learning about history that's to many people who are not white, who are Black, is a big part of like their everyday history that I knew nothing about before studying it and then coming here to see it.
So Walt Conley was a pioneering folk artist, a Black folk artist, who lived in Denver's 5 Points. And he is considered Mr. Folk Music because during the inception of Denver's folk music scene, he was there. And the two songs that we're having local artists interpret that he made popular, or that he performed and covered, were The Klan, a song that was written by Alan Arkin and David Arkin, and the Ballad of the Walking Postman, which was written by Buck Ram and that he performed. And that song honors the life of William Moore, a civil rights activist, a white man, who was assassinated when he led a one-man march from Tennessee to Mississippi calling for racial equality during that time.
The Ballad of the Walking Postman. It was a relief, actually, because somebody with privilege, somebody with power, whether recognized or not, chose to go down south and to make a difference. Unfortunately, was assassinated like other great men and women for a just cause.
We talked quite a bit in the roundtable about how white supremacy will kill white people, and that's what the song is about. It will kill white people to keep itself intact as well. So there's this white postman, free. He's a free man walking in the 60s from Maryland to, he's trying to get to Mississippi, and he's killed in Alabama because of the message that he's carrying. I think these kinds of projects are really important, actually, in Denver, because right now we're experiencing rapid gentrification, and the Black community is just, historically, it's been disenfranchised here. So it's really important work that needs to continue. Like, we just need to keep talking about how, like, hey, there's a historical community here that needs to be uplifted and honored rather than pushed out.
When you think about the history of the West and like Oregon Trail and the cavalry and the infantry and the Indians, a lot of times the concept of African American presence in the West is ignored, but that's not really fair because there were a lot of African Americans out here, a lot of Black folks out here on the West in a lot of capacities.
One of the things that I love to do is reimagine old pop songs. When I say old, like from the 90s. Some of my favorite pop songs, and flipping them upside their head.
1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. Or you can just sing it in your head.
Yeah.
I worked with Sarah, and we reinterpreted the song "The Klan" by Alan Arkin, which is a really poignant song with a lot of really great imagery in it about what it's like to be the victim of that kind of terrorism. It was a story that touched me, and it really like pulls you into that moment. But then when we did the roundtable at the church that had been burned by the Klan, like that really brought it home.
He who travels with the Klan
like just to be in that space, like this happened, not in the South, not in places far flung, like right here in Denver. That makes these songs like come to life. It's the thing that like connects me to folk music, and the thing that connects me to these songs is like there's real places that you can go see that they're talking about.
You good? Reel it in. Reel it in. Okay.
Professional. Okay.
Oh, it all began in Maryland in 1963 when a free postman began a plan to sell democracy.
He began to walk, he made it talk. People should be free. People said, a Rose Burnett in old Mississippi. Make your way.
Made it very clear why he mattered. And then, Lee's genius came out with the creating of the chorus. And us like asking in the beginning, has he lost his mind? His skin is on the line. His brother's life is gold like mine. And then we come back around after he dies and we say, have I lost my mind? Because it kind of like, it's encouraging Black folks to take up this mantle as well, I think, a little bit. We talked about that. I mean, we talked about how it could be discouraging to see a white person murdered in the name of supremacy.
I love her perspective because in having that eye initially, it's like, is this a Black person singing about this, or is it just like let's tell his story? But that I has that power at the end because it could be Black people saying I, or it could be the white people saying I, and I think that's our approach to try to just bring everybody in and make everybody part of something.
The idea is hopefully to like feel like it's unifying at the end.
Right.
I'll use Desiree, like what you added last night to the conversation about your really, I thought, incredibly poignant observation about walking in the shoes of the other, I think is actually a really good example of what we're talking about. I mean, it sort of checks both boxes of speaking to the theme, and then this idea of action steps of like you actually physically have to like take your own shoes off and put them in the shoes of somebody else.
While the Klan song acknowledges that something has happened and these tendencies kind of are still present, well then the ballad is like, this is what you can do. Being so inspired after Tuesday, and I got home late. Aaron is sleeping. Aaron works from home, so I'm like, ooh, don't get in trouble. Like, don't get in trouble. So I'm like, but I got this in me that's coming out. And I'm like, oh, man. So I'm putting my foot on the pedal. I'm like, do I hear anything? Upstairs? And so I was like, okay. So for the original song, Let Me Walk in Your Shoes, it's an invitation. Let's
Do what people want to hear.
do what people want to hear.
Yeah,
Kind of.
yeah.
Does that?
I think that's
Yeah.
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 That works for me.
You can unlace your shoes. Come on, brother, tell me what you gonna do. Let me walk in your shoes. Your shoes.
Their original song truly, for me, represented what we want these original songs to be. Songs that incorporate meaningful stories from the roundtable, the discussions, as well as provide tangible steps for how we can move forward. So I'm super grateful. It's been a beautiful 2 days, and now, you know, tomorrow and the next day, we're gonna be recording it in the studio.
There's a lot of like expat, well, not a lot, but like Abu Dhabi and Dubai both have roller derby teams, but they're all expat people. This one's like Egyptians.
Woke up this Sunday morning, thinking about something other than myself this morning. And I'm hoping that you will unlace your shoes. Come on, brother, tell me what you got to lose.
I can give you more than just 5 points, while where we're headed ain't been working out. Still sweating from that scorching heat, rising from the shore the church got burned out. And on the other side of Race Street, there's planes landing on my back lawn. You're asking why this matters to me. Well, now I can't afford my own home.
If you can get people who might be willing to listen, might be willing, without signing up or on to anything, endorsing anything, agreeing to, change their perspective, but just willing to listen and be heard, for that matter, because it doesn't work in one way. It's got to be both ways.
Woke up this Sunday morning.
I hope that people can see that there are many ways to be an ally and to care about bridging communities.
This whole thing just speaks to that, the diversity of community and the strength in diversity, and allows the time to have the conversation. And I think that that's important because it's easier not to have it. It's easier to just go about your day and then nothing moves.
Let me walk in your shoes.
What I really am striving for with this project is creating a space that is welcoming to everybody.
Being able to share ideas and being able to work with others and bring those ideas to the forefront to bless others. Come on now, like that's I can go to sleep well. I can go to sleep smiling.